James Comey back in the news. The transcript of Comey's closed-door testimony came out yesterday.
156 times that he was quoted, "I don't know," 72 times, "I don't remember," 8 times, "I don't recall."
He's the guy who's running an investigation, and the guy who runs an investigation has to know stuff.
Nearly 1,000 people arrested during more violent protests in Paris. People now demanding taxes on the rich and French President Emmanuel Macron's resignation.
President Trump making an official announcement of his White House Chief of Staff, John Kelly, that he'll be leaving at the end of the year.
We'll be announcing who will be taking John's place. I appreciate his service very much.
The Black Knights of Army have won the Army-Navy matchup.
I do pray for these players on this field and all the good they represent. We who are willing to die for others, we salute you.
It's big.
I wouldn't have not have known this is Michael Bublé unless it was in the top corner over there.
What I absolutely love is they have in prompter Pete and Nicole call for song because I think they were trying to like set me up to say that I didn't sing it, but then I sang it.
You
like
didn't really sing. Can we
talked about the first day
hold on,
of
Ed.
Christmas.
Ed, do better. What do we have here for Ed to sing?
Jingle bells. I mean, everyone knows jingle
Can we call
bells.
for it?
Oh, I think I lost my mic. It fell. Jingle bells, jingle all the way.
No, you're not even singing it right.
He doesn't even know the words.
What?
The ring, making spirits bright.
What fun it is to
ride and play this sleighing song tonight. Oh,
Jingle bells, jingle all the way.
Oh, fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Hey!
Oh boy, that's
I
gonna
love
live.
that I sang last
That
time.
might
It
live on
wasn't
the
enough.
internet forever.
I think it will be.
It
But
will.
then my mic fell down, so I was trying to save it.
But you know, we discussed this. There is a Fox and Friends Christmas party, and I think
We have a surprise.
We have a surprise for that.
We should get, I'm sure somebody will get on their phone. It'll be on next weekend's show because Pete and I
might.
have a little idea.
We've
gonna surprise
discussed it.
everybody.
It could be good. Yeah.
Uh-oh.
We're going to bring you along.
I don't love surprises, but I will definitely join these guys for it.
Well,
We're glad you're here, Nicole.
Thank you, guys. I'm
Thank you
having
very
a
much.
great
It's great to
time.
have you. And then
no
there's
surprise,
news.
perhaps, that James Comey has a faulty memory, it appears. He went behind
Back
closed
in the
doors
news.
on Friday with House Republicans and Democrats. Got most of the tough questions, of course, from Republicans who wanted to know about his handling of the Hillary Clinton email probe. They wanted to know about his handling, of course, of candidate Donald Trump in his campaign, the surveillance that went on, the FISA warrants that were gotten without really revealing the full nature of the dossier and the fact it was unverified.
So he's the man in charge. Like, he's the FBI
He was.
director. They took control of the investigation. But you wouldn't know it if you look at the transcript. 156 times, Mr. Comey said, I don't know. I don't know. 72 times, I don't remember. And 8 times, I don't recall. Now, you made a great point last hour, Nicole, about if you say, I don't know, that can actually be proved otherwise
Right.
if it's proven that you did know.
I think I would never say I don't know, and I would just go with I don't remember, because no one can prove to me that I don't remember something.
But it's astonishing. And it is, to me, it's evident of anyone who goes to Capitol Hill that has something to hide at some level.
Right.
It is always advisable from your legal counsel to say, I don't recall, I don't remember, I don't know, because then you can't be held culpable for the things you did
And what
in
about
that
the
moment.
fact that this is a man who was sanctimonious about saying that
Yes.
the Trump team, whether it be the campaign, the White House team, from the president on down, need to be more transparent, more honest in his eyes. And now he can't recall all of these important things. For example, he told our own Brett Baer during his book tour, James Comey did, that he didn't really know a whole lot about Christopher Steele, the former British spy who put together the dossier while he was FBI director, even though Steele's dossier, paid for by the DNC in the Clinton campaign, by the way, was used to go before the FISA judge. He didn't recall, he doesn't remember a lot of that. It's not credible.
But he also said the dossier came from a verifiable or confident source.
Yeah.
But then he says he doesn't know Steele, so I don't understand that.
Yeah, it's pretty unbelievable. Let's bring in Corey Lewandowski, former Trump campaign manager and co-author of Trump's Enemies. Corey, thanks for being here. I don't really know who you are, but you're on the show today. I don't recall. Help me.
I don't recall either. Look, this is what is so amazing, and this is really what we talk about in the book, is what the FBI knew, what they used to get surveillance on American citizens on domestic soil, and now Jim Comey, under the penalty of perjury, all of a sudden he can't remember anything. Don't forget, this is the same FBI director who, when he left Trump Tower after giving Donald Trump the false dossier in January of 2017, took contemporaneous notes on his work computer, which then got leaked, that he gave out to his former law professor to make sure that that information was put in the public sphere. So Jim Comey is at the middle of all of this fake Russia probe investigation. He actually went on to say during his testimony he doesn't know Bob Mueller, doesn't have Bob Mueller's phone number, has never been to his house, and has never kissed Bob Mueller, is what he said, if you believe this. Which, you know, I don't know any of that to be true, to be honest with you. I am sure he has Bob Mueller's phone number, and I think maybe he's kissed him once or twice.
Right. Well, the context there is that apparently there was some sort of a FOIA request from someone recently to the FBI looking for photos allegedly showing Comey and Mueller hugging and kissing. I don't know the context of that. That was the question from a lawmaker. Comey said, I have no idea. Let me ask it this way, though, Corey. Let me tie it to Bob Mueller's investigation as you did. So if I've got this right, if Donald Trump paid his one-time attorney, Michael Cohen, to help get him out of a personal indiscretion, allegedly, and that they're facing potentially criminal charges there. How is it then you can't do that, but you can hire a law firm, Perkins Coie, and pay them to pay a former British spy to dig up dirt on your opponent, and James Comey and everyone else thinks, that's okay, it's not criminal?
Well, look, there's clearly a number of FEC violations that the Clinton campaign engaged in. They took $5 million. They paid a former British spy, Christopher Steele, to go to Russia for the false dossier. It was designed and paid for and given to Fusion GPS Nellie Orr, whose husband, Bruce Orr, was the #4 person at the Justice Department who still works there. And then Bruce Orr hand-walked that document over to the FBI. The only time that document made it into the public sphere is after Jim Comey personally provided Donald Trump with a copy of that false dossier and then leaked the fact that that dossier was provided to President-elect Trump in a secured classified briefing in January of 2017. Jim Comey knows all about this. He has significant legal exposure. His articulation that he doesn't remember any of these things is going to come back to haunt him.
Corey, in testimony, James Comey said of Bruce Orr, the #4 at the, he's a lawyer for the Department of Justice, who I don't really know exactly what his job was. I remember him from the Southern District of New York, a DOJ lawyer. So he's claiming he doesn't even really know Bruce Orr.
Well, don't forget, Jim Comey, prior to being the FBI director, served as the Deputy Attorney General for the United States of America under John Ashcroft, the same job that Rod Rosenstein has. There's no way he doesn't know Bruce Orr. Bruce Orr was one of the most senior people at the Department of Justice. He oversaw all criminal activities related to organized crime. He had nothing, he was supposed to have nothing to do with campaigns, but because his wife worked for Fusion GPS, she gave him the false dossier, and he presented that to either Jim Comey or Andy McCabe, and that's how this whole investigation began, under a false premise from a false dossier paid for by the Clinton campaign.
All right, well, that's a good point, Corey. So with the new year, it looks like we're going to have a new chief of staff. What's your thoughts on that?
Look, I look forward to the new year, to be honest with you. The notion that we were going to potentially have a chief of staff that wasn't understanding how important the 2020 election cycle is for Donald Trump was crazy to me. And now I'm very happy that it looks like the president is going to bring in a new team, not just the chief of staff, but other individuals with one focus, and the only focus a first-term president ever has, which is securing a second term. Bringing in people who understand the political reality of what's about to transpire on Capitol Hill with the subpoena cannon that the Democrats are going to use against this White House, and understanding what that means from a political side is very important.
But Corey, you have a bit of an axe to grind, don't you? I mean, you and John Kelly never got along, and you nearly came to blows in the West Wing, correct?
Well, the reason John and I don't get along is because the mantra of let Trump be Trump, the most successful candidate in modern history, whether it's real estate, books, television, or now in politics, should be one that people should embrace and not fight back on. You can't change the way the president operates. I believe the president is best when he's out talking directly to the American people. And when people come into the administration and try and change his policies as a detriment, or allow people to work in the government who don't support the president's agenda, I fundamentally disagree with that.
Corey, you mentioned 2020. According to the media, we may not even get there. Here's a couple of headlines based on the Mueller probe that caught our eye. New York Magazine said Trump 2020 shaping up to be a campaign to stay out of prison. And the USA Today, Mueller is close to answering Russia collusion question that could end Trump's presidency. Are you concerned that what Bob Mueller is mulling will lead to something before 2020?
Look, the president has no exposure here. I'm very certain of it. I sat next to Donald Trump for thousands of hours. We never contacted any Russians. They never contacted me that I know of. No communication, no collusion, no cooperation. That's a fact. It's very simple. And whatever other people had done, whether it's Michael Cohen or Paul Manafort, it had nothing to do with the campaign, which is what Bob Mueller was supposed to be looking into, which is the collusion, which never existed, between Trump's campaign and the Russians. But it's amazing. There's been no looking into the collusion that we know took place between the Russians and Hillary Clinton's campaign. And moreover, and this is a really important point, Pete, there was one president of the United States at the time. It was Barack Obama. And his intelligence community, Comey, Clapper, Brennan, they were tasked with ballot integrity and making sure that no foreign entities interfered with our election cycle. How come no one's talking about that? Donald Trump was a private citizen. We were running a private campaign for president. So let's put the blame, if there was any, where it belongs, which is the intelligence community's failures to protect the American ballot system if the Russians tried to impact that in any way, shape, or form.
Corey Lewandowski, thanks for coming in.
Thanks, Corey. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, from Corey to Carly.
I like it. Good morning. I'll take it. Yes. Good morning to you. Good morning to everybody at home. If you're just waking up, strong language from the president of Iran accusing the U.S. of economic terrorism over sanctions. The leader adding, quote, "We warn sanction imposers that if our capabilities to fight drug trafficking and terrorism are harmed, you cannot escape from the influx of drugs, refugees, bombs, and terrorism." Last month, President Trump reinstated sanctions against Iran after withdrawing from the Iran nuclear deal in May. A 22-year-old Google employee is found dead at the company's New York headquarters. Police say Scott Krulsick was found unresponsive on the 6th floor. Reports say the software engineer did not have any medical issues and his body did not show any signs of trauma. The medical engineer is investigating a cause of death. And turning now to extreme weather, more than 20 million people impacted by a major winter storm. 1,400 flights have been canceled in the southeast. Now, this is a live look at Boone, North Carolina, where parts of the state are expecting more than a foot of snow. The same system is dumping nearly a foot of snow in parts of Texas, creating dangerous driving conditions. The Houston area is dealing with major flooding with more than 6 inches of rain over the past 2 days. And those guys are your headlines. Good luck to everybody in that area.
Already?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Where is meteorologist Rick? We should.
We'll find him.
Rick. You elevated him to like Cher and Bono.
Major status.
It's true. He's a one-name man.
Yeah, that's
Extended forecast coming up with Weatherman Rick.
We love you. All right, thanks, Carly. Appreciate it. All right, chaos and violent protests erupting in the streets of Paris again. Paris. Over the country's climate agenda. We're live on the ground. Coming up next.
It's either Paris or Paris, one or the other. Plus, one school district is not messing around when it comes to student lunch debt. The extreme measures now making sure parents pay up.
We are back with a Fox News alert. Nearly 1,000 people arrested during more violent protests in Paris.
People are now demanding taxes on the rich and the French president's resignation.
Well, our man in Paris, Greg Palcott, as the unrest sweeps the country. Greg, yesterday you were wearing a helmet. You were in a different spot, and we saw your reports throughout the night. And it at one point you said it looked almost like the Gaza Strip in Paris.
Yeah, absolutely rough. Ed, gang, how are you? Yeah, there's got to be a morning and a day after. It's turning out to be a nice one here in Paris on this Sunday, and they deserve it. Right now, you've got police, shopkeepers, residents picking up the pieces after yesterday's day of violence. It was the most arrests ever for officials in one day here in France. The latest numbers, 1,400 nabbed, and the damage was the most widespread of this month-long demonstration on a variety of days. We were out in it, as you noted, Ed, for most of the day. It went into the night, and it was ugly. Police clashing with anti-government protesters. The bulk of these so-called yellow vest protesters, middle-class folks from the French heartland, but with a little added punch from militants on the right and the left that have melded in with the crowd. Remember, these started out as anger over government hikes and gas tax for environmental reasons, but this whole thing has morphed into a broad attack on taxation, on wages, and a government which the people here feel is out of touch with the people. Incredibly, guys, except for one tweet praising the police, this country has not heard from its leader through this whole time, President Emmanuel Macron. The government has given ground on some of the protest demands, like the gas tax, and as you noted, possibly the wealth tax being reimposed again. Still, according to our sources, guys, the earliest France will be able to hear from President Macron is Monday night, probably not until Tuesday night. That's a long, dangerous silence. Back to you.
Absolutely.
Holy cow, it sure is. I mean, I've got a friend on the ground there who's saying, I mean, are we looking at an existential threat to the government? I mean, he's feeling like this is not just a contest with Macron, but the whole system feels like it's crumbling.
Yeah, there was one cover story from their version of Time or Newsweek, and it's saying, is this the end of the days for the quote-unquote French model? And that's what we've been saying for years. Huge taxation, heaviest taxation in all the world, huge government employee ranks. It's got to break sometime. This might be it.
It does. You're right, Greg. Great point.
Thank you very much, Greg.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
What did former FBI Chief James Comey say behind closed doors? Well, guess what? We have the transcript, and you're not going to believe the details. Dan Bongino gives us his takeaways live coming up.
Plus, what's the secret to a long life?
Beer.
Our next. Welcome back. Couple of quick headlines for you. Police searching for two Grinches. They say they used bolt cutters to steal a Salvation Army kettle.
Out there. Two Grinches out there. Why would someone do this to people? You know, it's just disappointing.
It's a one-way ticket in the wrong direction. The thieves caught on camera outside a grocery store in Minnesota. The Salvation Army says the bell ringer had not yet arrived for his shift when it happened.
So much for Minnesota nice.
Yeah, exactly. And this suspect is wanted for a violent brawl inside a Cracker Barrel.
What?
The video shows a customer attack the teenage employee, sending him into nearby shelves. Wisconsin detectives say it started when the clearly unhappy customer blurted homophobic slurs at another employee.
Awful.
Not a good idea.
Well, it's good to bring in Dan Bongino. I thought we were going to talk about Mueller and whatnot, but I kind of want to talk to him about beating up those guys who went after the Salvation Army. I feel like you're the guy to send.
Listen, I mean, is there a low, how low of a human being do you have? I mean, even like animals don't do that. They don't like steal Salvation Army.
He's the guy to send.
What kind of a jerk do you have to be to do that?
No, really.
Those poor guys are out there in the cold trying to raise money for a good cause. You get the bolt cutters out to fleece their dough. I mean, you want to talk about a loser. That's a big L. Seriously. You need to seek professional help. Yes, big time,
Yeah, that's
right?
what my kids do, yeah.
My gosh.
You're right. Well, welcome here.
Yeah, it's good to be
Great
here.
to
I
have you in
love
the
being in the
flesh.
studio.
Appreciate
Yeah,
it.
always good to see you.
You have been on top of, inside, in front of so many of these issues related to the so-called Russian investigation, and Comey's been in the middle of it. He was behind closed doors yesterday asking a bunch of questions over
Friday,
250
they released
Friday, excuse me. 250 pages came out yesterday, though, from that. What do you make of what's revealed on that questioning of Comey?
There are really some astonishing revelations in that transcript. And, you know, we've almost become overwhelmed by the bombshell word. But I'll just go through the big one first. He doesn't know the source of the dossier? Listen, guys, it's not personal. I don't know Jim Comey. He obviously has served the public in some capacity, with all due respect. You were the FBI director. You opened the most significant counterintelligence investigation in modern U.S. history into a presidential nominee, now president. And you have no idea where the information comes from? It came from the hot dog guy on the corner, Joey Bag of Donuts. You didn't think, wait, seriously, you didn't think to ask that question? Like, hey, we've got this information that Donald Trump may have committed treason, nonsense information. Hey, who told you that? Oh, cousin Bobby in the Walmart? Yeah. Like, it never occurred to you as the FBI director.
Meanwhile, you had to go through a FISA judge, a serious federal judge, you would think, to actually have evidence. And yet, let's broaden this out. In this transcript, it shows that 156 times we counted, James Comey said, I don't know. 72 times, I don't remember. 8 times, I don't recall. I thought he was for truth, justice, and the American way.
Ed, listen, You ever see that meme on Twitter? I can't say this. I'm like, you had one job. Like, what's your job here? To produce conservative content for Fox and Friends. Jim Comey's job, he had one job, to know where the information came from. How do you go there and answer that many times? You know, there's another thing he said, too. So not only does he not know how the investigation started or where the information came from, they asked him at one point, I think it was Trey Gowdy or Jim Jordan said, how would you initiate a counterintelligence investigation into a presidential candidate? He's like, I'm really not sure about that either. Listen, brother Jim, you had one job to know this stuff. It's like me showing up this morning for Fox and Friends going, Dan, you want to comment on Comey? No, I'm good. I'm just going to hang out on the couch and drink Pete's coffee. You had one job to produce content. Jim Comey cannot say, I don't know. It was his job to know. This is the incompetence here is stunning.
Hillary Clinton said, I don't recall 21 times when she was interviewed. So is the lesson here, if you're a Democrat or you're James Comey, I don't know where he is, just say, I don't recall. And some of the Trump people made the mistake of lying to the FBI, by the way. They didn't tell the truth, it appears. And
that's a great point. I mean, so you just gestured to Ed, you're right. The fact that the benighted class, the anointed ones in the government, seem to live in a different constitutional republic than we do, I think is wearing on a lot of Americans of both stripes. Remember, I'm obviously not a Democrat at all. I share almost nothing in common with a lot of Democrats, but I think they're frustrated with Comey too. We have to get to a point right now where we all live under the same rules. And it's clear right now that you just nailed it. If you're in the government and you just say, hey, don't remember, you get a pass. Meanwhile, if you and I, you not only with us, you have to talk. And when you talk, if you misstep once, you're going to jail for lying to the FBI, even when they say you didn't lie, as in the case of Mike Flynn.
Well, you're exactly right. Now, another comparison being made. Barbara McQuaid, she's a former U.S. attorney for the Eastern District of Michigan. I don't know her, but this soundbite caught our attention. She compared our president to illegal immigrants. Listen.
This isn't just a regulatory offense when you're talking about campaign finance violations. It could be that President Trump procured the presidency by fraud. When immigrants procure their citizenship by fraud, we strip them of their citizenship. When a president procures his presidency by fraud, should we consider doing the same?
Should we?
So, Dan, I'm just cannot wait for your reaction to this. So do you think that, they're saying that the president potentially got his position out of fraud. Would you consider he got it out of fraud, and would you ever compare him to illegal immigrants?
Yeah, I'm embarrassed for her. That was a really absurd, outrageous, embarrassing piece of commentary on that other network there. But they're good at that. They're the gold medal award winners of embarrassing commentary. But to suggest that the president got the presidency by fraud is ironic, because remember, it is Hillary Clinton who paid a British spy to deal with Russian intel to gin up fake information on Donald Trump and lied about it the entire time. Remember, we only found out they did the dossier after denial after the election. So it's kind of ironic that they gin up a bunch of fake information that could have impacted the election and the post-presidency on Donald Trump, but they're alleging somehow Trump won by fraud. It's absurd, and it's typical Democrat. Accuse your opponent of what you did yourself.
It's not until Devin Nunes got the bank records from Fusion GPS. That was the key. They never admitted it.
Never.
Well, Comey actually came out and said, and it came out in the transcripts yesterday, he said he didn't even have much concern over who funded the dossier, which that's motivation. How could you not have concern over who's funding it?
He dropped another bomb, though, yesterday, too. He said about the obstruction of justice charge. He said that when they were considering, after Comey got fired in their small group, this obstruction of justice charge, that they withheld it from Sessions. This is Comey, who's already been accused of usurping power with his July 5th speech about Hillary Clinton. Right. Did it again. His job is to report to
Jeff Sessions. Both attorneys general.
He said, we withheld that from Jeff Sessions.
Dan, you had one job and you did it well.
You did it well,
Thank you. I love being here. It's great seeing you guys and ladies.
Thank you, sir. All right, well, they say it's the best video you will see all day. It probably is. Right. The U.S. Army Ranger surprising his son at school. Yeah, they were right. The story behind the emotional reunion coming up soon.
Plus, what's the secret to a long life? We asked Don Bongino. He said Coors Light. And you know what? Our next guest is a 101-year-old World War II vet. He says Dan is right. He's next, live.
That was the national anthem from yesterday. I tell you, the whole pageantry leading up to the game was powerful. No, I got chills, tears to my eyes. The prayer that was given before that.
You were standing in your living room, as I understand it.
I actually was.
Yeah.
You know,
I believe that.
I can confirm that is a fact.
That's awesome.
There's just moments you know it, you connect to it, and our nation comes together. And you watch those kids, and they're kids. They won't be soon.
Some of the faces so young. You're right.
Yeah, they're like there's kids partying, passed out in their dorm rooms, and these kids are like, I want to serve my nation and potentially die for it. And it really reinforces your belief that the next generation can carry on our American experiment.
And the commander-in-chief was there as well, there for the coin toss.
Yeah, it's the only thing he got wrong. And the only thing that Navy got right is he flipped it. Navy called it. They won the toss, and it turns out Army did win 17-10.
Yes, they did.
A running attack that Navy couldn't stop. A couple of fumbles, an interception. It was a good game, and Army's a real quality squad. They're 10-2. They're ranked in the top 20 in the nation.
I'm not surprised the Army has a good ground game.
Oh, I like it.
I know why you keep this guy around.
Good on the ground. Well, you
Nicely
remember, though,
done.
Carly Shimkus did say that she was for Navy, so we're going to toss over to Carly.
That's right. Congratulations.
Wait, first, let's correct the record. First, she was on the fence.
Yes.
No, she was just neutral.
Very neutral.
She was neutral, but then she has family.
I
who
always
is in
want
the
every
Navy.
team to win, whoever the underdog is.
Every team.
Get everyone a trophy. Can't everyone just tie at the end of the
That's
game?
right. Can't we all just win?
Let's just
Isn't
get
that the
along.
trend of
Let's just get along and get the headlines.
All right, yes, we do
There
have
you
to give
go.
some very important headlines here. ICE agents arrest 105 people in a 5-day sweep targeting illegal immigrants. Of those arrested in the New Jersey bust, 80% had prior or pending criminal charges. Some are known gang members, including one with ties to MS-13. Former acting ICE Director Tom Homan joined us earlier to weigh in.
Sanctuary cities actually results in arrest of more illegal aliens, and it puts the illegal alien community at a greater risk of crime because those criminals are going to go back and victimize the very communities in which they live in. So it doesn't make sense. Sanctuary cities is a big lie by the liberals.
Well, the massive sting comes despite the state's attorney general's new directive limiting local and state law enforcement cooperation with ICE. Fishermen, now heroes, rushing to save a man from his burning car. A driver became trapped after crashing into a tree near a Florida marina. Security video shows the fishermen hurry to the scene to put out the fire and pull him out. The man has several broken bones and faces a very long road to recovery. It's unclear what caused the crash. A Rhode Island school district is using a collection agency to go after unpaid lunch money. A school official claiming the outstanding balance is near $46,000. Last year, the school wrote off more than $95,000 in lunch debt. Parents owing $20 or more will get a letter from the collection agency starting next year. Wow, taking a hardline stance on those lunch money.
No free lunch.
Right, no free lunch. No, nothing's ever free.
No free lunch for you.
No soup for you. Unless you're here, because we do eat a lot here in Boston, friends.
That's true.
Army
Thank
has a
you,
good
Carly.
ground
Appreciate
game.
it. Army has a good ground game. So I was checking. I bet Navy's good at water polo. They are decent, 15-14.
Oh,
Army, it
be
doesn't.
nice
They
to
didn't
Navy.
play Army though in water polo. I don't know that Army has a water polo team.
They shouldn't.
I love the Navy. Come on, they drive us
You know
everywhere.
what? Everyone should celebrate the Army victory and a wonderful game played by all, because we got a Coors Light here, not just for that, but for our next guest, who's really remarkable. It's the question everyone wants answered. What's the secret to a long life?
And according to one World War II Air Force veteran, it's not a fancy diet or strict workout regimen.
great.
The secret is one Coors Light each day.
That's right. He just celebrated his 101st birthday last week, and now Coors fan Andrew Slavinik and his son Bob join us with their story.
Good morning.
Thank you both for joining us this morning.
Good morning, guys.
To you, sir.
Good morning, guys.
I crack a can to you, sir, this morning.
These are cold, by the way.
They are cold. We have a couple with us. So how in the world did you come about this idea that Coors Light might be the secret to a long life?
How'd you come about liking Coors Light, Dad?
Well, I tried several other beers, but they just didn't really feel like the right one. So I came across Coors Light with its flavor and light, and I really enjoyed it.
I agree.
And I've been drinking it for the last 15, 20 years.
I think we found a new celebrity spokesman. And Bob, I wonder if you could ask him, because we've got the doctor here in the house. How did he come about with one? Was this a negotiation with his doctor? Because Pete was hoping this meant you could have a six-pack a day, but he says one. Why one?
Why one? Just he didn't want to get too much, so he just decided. And as the older he got, it narrowed down to just a one. But when he started, it may have been 2 and 3, just to get through the day.
Sometimes one is enough. You don't have to overdo it.
No, we drink more than one a day. Sometimes we have 2, sometimes I have 3.
Wait, he's breaking some news here.
There we go. This is what I like to hear.
We got to have that one at 4 o'clock, though. That's the most important one.
The one at 4 o'clock, is that what it is?
Yeah.
This is great.
That's the most important.
Write that down.
5 is too late. Sometimes you got to start at 4. I agree with you.
That's great. Now, Nicole has a special surprise for you.
Yes, I do. So we wanted to tell you something. So we want to thank you for your years of service and being a lifelong fan.
This is from Coors Light.
This is from Coors Light.
Yeah.
This is a message from Coors Light. They're saying that we want to thank you for your years of service and being a lifelong Coors Light fan. They're honored to visit your home yesterday to deliver beer, but there's more gratitude that they want to give you. On behalf of the entire Coors family, they would like to fly you and your son Bob out to their hometown of Golden, Colorado to take a tour of our brewery. We'll see you in the Rockies.
Wow.
So do you know what that means? You're going to their brewery. They want to have you there.
We're going to see the actual Blue Mountains, huh?
That's right.
That would be great.
And
That's
not just a
awesome.
picture. You're going to actually be there.
Yeah.
Hey, fresh beer is always good.
That's a great
is.
line. Bob, can you ask him whether or not he's ready to do like a big Super Bowl ad? I feel like this could be the next big Super Bowl ad.
I think he's ready. I know he is, actually. He's a big Steeler fan for how much he can watch on TV, but he loves it.
Watching TV is my tough one. With my eyesight, I have a hard time, but I enjoy it.
Well, we hope it's tuned to Fox News with a Coors Light in one hand and the clicker in the other. Thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Andrew,
I
Bob,
appreciate
thank you. It's awesome. It's a fun story because of the Coors Light thing, but your service to our country matters a great deal, and we're glad you've got a great trip in front of you. Congratulations.
This one will be for you after the show, sir.
Yep, in the commercial break afterward, actually.
All right.
Great.
Thank you, sir.
You.
Take care.
A lot more news coming up.
All right, still ahead, House Judiciary Committee Chairman Bob Goodlatte was in the room when James Comey gave his closed-door testimony. He shares his big revelations live next hour.
Plus, another win for the Trump economy. Wage growth is matching the highest rate in nearly a decade, despite job growth slowing a bit. The Wall Street Journal dubs it the perfect jobs report. A former Reagan economic advisor who talked all about this long ago is next. Well, the Labor Department released its monthly jobs report on Friday, revealing U.S. employers slowed a bit in their hiring in November. It's still positive, but lower than expected.
But the Wall Street Journal is dubbing it the perfect jobs report. So why?
Yeah, let's ask former Reagan economic advisor, author of now Trumponomics, Art Laffer. Good to see you, Art.
Hi, Art.
Thank you, Ed. Hi, Nicole. How are you?
Fantastic. We, have been hearing a lot, and maybe some in the media don't like to talk about it, but the economy has been strong under the president, particularly job growth. Now, as I noted, it wasn't as high as some on Wall Street expected on Friday, still in positive territory. But talk about wage growth, which is something both parties have been saying is the key for a long time.
Yeah, wage growth is great, and it should be very strong. This is a good economy. I don't think the Wall Street Journal was correct that this is the perfect jobs report. Yeah. It's not, but it's okay. What you really want to look at is you want to look at GDP, which is the sum total of all the production of goods and services in the U.S., and those numbers have been coming in very, very strong, which is lovely. 4.2% growth in the second quarter, 3.5% growth in the third quarter. That is the number you want to really focus on laser. That's where you really see the good news, and it's really very strong.
Now, so everyone was kind of criticizing when we were talking about strong economies in the past. They were saying, yes, but wages aren't up, and that was the biggest criticism. But now it's looking like the average hourly earnings were up 3.1% from a year earlier, matching that as the best rate since 2009. So is it time for those critics to say mea culpa and maybe acknowledge that the wages are up?
Yeah, well, they never should have started talking at all, because when you have rapid growth in employment, mostly that growth growth comes in people at the lowest ranks in there, and so therefore they're low-wage people. So when your average wages go up, it shows you that it's even stronger than those numbers would imply. So we are having a very nice recovery here. It's got to continue for a long time to really make a difference, but it's on the right path.
Yeah,
All right, well,
absolutely.
thank you very much.
Yeah, the Wall Street Journal was
Hey,
saying
you guys have altogether too much fun. Now, let me just ask you one question.
Yeah.
If it had been raining, would Navy have won?
you know, that's a,
You
we're
talk
going to
about the
put that
ground
question
game and
to
Army.
Pete.
I mean, come on.
Yeah, we have a lot of fun. We got
spectacular,
Coors
by
Light,
the
we got
way.
Art Laffer. Great, it's a treat
Thank
to have
you,
you.
Art.
Thank you
Great
very
having
much.
you. All
See
right,
you
well,
later.
Still ahead, House Judiciary Committeeman Chairman Bob Gudla and Maria Bartiromo both here live.
They'll talk a little bit more about the economy as well, but plus taking a successful picture with Santa is not always as easy as Pete's family makes it look like here. Instead, they usually look more like this. We've got tips on how to avoid a Christmas meltdown during your photo op this season. Not going to happen with Pete's family. It's coming up.